My name is Elena Brooks, and I was 38 years old the morning my husband decided our life together was just over. If you'd looked at us from the outside, you'd have thought we were fine. Boring, even. We had a small house on a tree-lined street, two sensible cars in the driveway, a mortgage in both our names, and a marriage that had made it past the 7-year itch without burning down. We had inside jokes, a shared Netflix profile, a joint savings account we called Future Us. Apparently, Future Us didn't include me. I woke up that Thursday to the zipper sound first. Not my alarm, not Mark's phone, just the quiet, abrasive rasp of a zipper being dragged shut. I rolled over, squinting. Mark was by the closet, his back to me, folding shirts into an open suitcase on the floor. Another suitcase was already packed and closed. "Mark," my voice came out groggy. "What are you doing?" He didn't answer, didn't even glance at me, just folded another shirt with this weird, deliberate calm, laid it in the suitcase, smoothed it down like he had all the time in the world. "Mark," I pushed myself upright. "What are you doing?" He exhaled, this heavy, theatrical sigh. "I'm done, Elena." My brain was still trying to boot up. Done with what? Work? Is this some kind of joke? He straightened, finally turning to look at me. His eyes were flat in a way I'd never seen before. "I can't do this anymore," he said. "This, us, the lie." "The lie?" I repeated, heart picking up. "What lie?" He rubbed the back of his neck like this was awkward paperwork, not the disintegration of my life. "I've met someone else, someone who actually makes me happy. I'm leaving." Just like that. 8 years of marriage ended while I sat there in an oversized t-shirt, hair a mess, imprint of the pillow still on my cheek. I felt my mouth move before my brain caught up. "Who?" "Does it matter?" he said. "Yeah," I snapped, heat punching through the shock. "It actually does." He zipped the first suitcase, hauled it upright, and set it by the door. Started packing the second. "Her name is irrelevant," he said. "What matters is I'm finally choosing myself." "Choosing yourself by cheating on me?" My voice cracked on the word. He shrugged. "It's not cheating if the marriage was already dead, Elena. You know that." "No," I said. "I don't know that, because nobody sent me that memo." He walked into the bathroom, grabbed his toiletry bag, swept his razor and cologne and toothbrush into it like he'd rehearsed. I stared at the doorway, hearing his things disappear into a zipper. "Mark, don't do this. We can talk. We can go to counseling. We can't—" "I'm not interested in resuscitating something that's been over for years," he called back. "I'll come back for the rest of my stuff later. Don't call me. I need space." He stepped out, slung the bag over his shoulder, picked up his suitcases. And then he just left. I heard his footsteps down the hall, the front door open and close, the distant thunk of his suitcases over the porch steps. Heard his car start. Heard him back out of our driveway and drive away like it was any other commute. The silence he left behind was so loud it felt physical. I sat there in our bed for, I don't know how long. Long enough for the sunlight to shift across the floor. Long enough for the cold side of the bed to feel like a wound. The closet looked wrong, his half gaping, hangers bare. His coffee mug was still on the nightstand from the night before, a ring of dried brown at the bottom. I called in sick to work. I didn't have a good explanation, so I didn't give one. Family emergency was the phrase I used. It felt too small. The rest of the day was a blur. Leftover pizza eaten cold on the couch, his side of the sectional empty, my phone face up on the coffee table, stubbornly silent. I kept expecting the front door to open, for him to call it off, to say he'd made a mistake. He didn't. Friday was worse. I woke up for a second thinking it had been some surreal nightmare. Then I rolled over and saw empty hangers and remembered. Still no text, no call, no email, nothing. Saturday, I finally showered, dragging myself through the motions like I was piloting someone else's body. I did laundry because the smell of his shirts in the hamper made me nauseous. I tried to act normal. I failed. Sunday, I forced myself out of the house to buy groceries. I made it as far as the frozen food aisle before I saw a couple comparing ice cream flavors, his hand resting easy on the small of her back, and my chest cinched so tight I had to abandon my cart and walk out with nothing. Monday, I went back to work because staring at my own walls was starting to feel like drowning in slow motion. My boss took one look at me. "You look rough," she said gently. "Everything okay?" "My husband left," I heard myself say. Her expression softened in that way that makes you feel both seen and exposed. "Take the week if you need it." "I'm fine," I lied. I wasn't, but the alternative was going home and listening to the echo of my own heartbeat in a house that suddenly felt too big. Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. I didn't have room for spam or wrong numbers or anyone else's needs. But something, habit, curiosity, masochism, made me swipe. Hello? A man's voice, raw and frayed, came through the line. Is this her? My heart stuttered. Is this who? The wife, he said. His wife. Are you her? Are you Mark Brooks's wife? Yes, I said slowly. Who is this? There was a shaky breath. My name is Jason Hart. My wife is sleeping with your husband. The world tilted. For a second, I had to sit down. What? I whispered. I found texts, he said. Hundreds of them. Photos. Plans. They've been together for months, not days, not weeks. Months. I pressed my free hand to my stomach as if I could hold everything inside. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. He left this morning, Jason continued, voice cracking. Told me he was in love with someone else, packed a bag, walked out on me. He swallowed audibly. On our kids, he added. Kids. Something cold slid down my spine. You have kids? 2, he said. Girls, 7 and 9. He told them Daddy had to go on a work trip. I could hear paper rustling, the scrape of a chair. I found an apartment lease in his email, Jason said. He signed it 3 weeks ago. They've been planning this. My stomach dropped. Where? Downtown, he said. Some fancy high-rise, $3,200 a month. View of the river, concierge, the whole fantasy. He paused. When did your husband leave? He asked. Thursday morning, I said. He was packing when I woke up. There was a silence that felt like both of us standing in the same emotional crater. So they're there together right now, Jason said quietly. In that apartment, playing house. Probably, I said. My voice sounded like it was coming from far away. There was another long stretch of breathing and contained rage. When he spoke again, his tone had changed. Still broken, but threaded with steel. I want to destroy this, he said. I mean legally. Properly. I want them to regret every choice they've made. A slow answering heat lit inside me. Yeah, I said, me too. How? I asked. What can we even do? Meet me tomorrow, Jason said. Coffee. We need to talk. I'll bring what I've found. He gave me the name of a coffee shop and a time. I wrote it down with a hand that wouldn't stop shaking. Do you hate me? I blurted, because suddenly that mattered. For being, her? He exhaled, tired. No, you didn't cheat on me, Elena. They did this. We're on the same side, whether we like it or not. He hung up. I sat there with the phone still pressed to my ear for a few seconds, listening to the deadline, feeling something subtle shift inside me. The grief was still there, thick and suffocating, but now, threaded through it, was something else, sharper, colder, more focused. For the first time since Mark rolled those suitcases out of our house, I didn't feel like I was just waiting to be heard again. Tomorrow, I was going to sit across from the husband of the woman my husband had chosen over me, and together, we were going to decide what happened next. The coffee shop Jason picked was one of those places that tried very hard not to be a chain. Exposed brick, plants hanging from macrame holders, chalkboard menu with pretentious names for regular coffee. He was already there when I walked in. I recognized him from the way he sat, like he hadn't really slept, shoulders hunched, hands wrapped around a mug that had probably gone lukewarm a while ago. He was in navy scrubs, a badge clipped to his pocket, dark circles under his eyes, hair that had clearly lost a fight with his pillow. When he looked up and saw me, something in his expression unclenched. Just a fraction. Elena, he asked, standing. That's me, I said, even though the name felt weird in my mouth now, like it belonged to someone with a husband. We shook hands. His grip was warm, slightly shaky. Jason, he said unnecessarily, thanks for coming. Didn't have much else going on, I tried to joke. It came out flat. He gave this brittle half-smile and gestured to the chair across from him. As I sat down, he reached under the table and pulled out a manila folder. It was thick, edges worn like he'd been handling it nonstop. I've been busy, he said. He slid it toward me. My stomach flipped. What is this? Proof, he said simply. Of them. Of how long this has been going on. Of what they've been doing with our lives. My fingers shook a little as I opened the folder. It was a lot. Bank statements, credit card statements, printed emails, screenshots of texts, some in color, some in grayscale, hotel confirmations, receipts, a copy of a lease with Mark's full name in bold type. You got all this in 3 days? I asked, stunned. His jaw tightened. Motivation is a hell of a drug. I picked up one of the statements. Charges at restaurants I'd never heard of, midweek, labeled as working late nights in my calendar. A jewelry store receipt for a necklace I'd never seen. Hotel charges on dates when Mark had told me he was stuck at the office preparing for a big presentation.
How did you even... I started.
His company has an internal security portal, Jason said. They log employees' badge-ins for safety. I compared the dates he said he was traveling for site visits to their records.
He tapped one of the printouts where his notes circled dates in red.
3 of the nights he claimed to be out of town, he badged into the office, Jason continued. But I've got hotel charges for those same nights. Turns out he was working late in a king-size bed 30 minutes from home.
I swallowed hard, nausea rising. He really thought he'd never get caught. They all do, Jason said quietly. Lily thought the same.
He pulled out a separate stack, her messages. I forced myself to read them. Lily. I can't wait to fall asleep next to you every night. Mark. Soon, baby. Just a few more weeks. Lily. Imagine cooking breakfast in our kitchen. No sneaking around. Just us.
There were photos. Nothing explicit, but intimate in a way that made my skin crawl. His hand on her thigh in a restaurant booth, a shot of their feet tangled together on a bed, the city skyline outside a window I'd never seen. Why didn't I see any of this? I murmured. He was home. We were living a life. I thought I'd notice if my husband was in love with someone else. Jason shook his head. They're good liars. That's not a compliment, just a fact. He pulled out another document, a lease. My heart stuttered when I saw Mark's signature. Here, Jason said, tapping the date line, 3 weeks before he walked out on you. That's when he signed for the apartment? I whispered.
Yep, security deposit and first month's rent, here. He pointed to the amounts. $10,300 total, all paid from his account. His account, I echoed slowly. Not both of yours. Jason gave me a look. Check the transfers. I flipped to the next page. My own name punched me in the face from the top of a bank statement. A series of transfers from my checking account to Mark's over the last few months. Numbers I vaguely remembered. 300 here, Jason said, reading over my shoulder. 500 there. 450, 200. Add them all up, it's several thousand. I thought back to the conversations we'd had. We can't afford to fix the washing machine right now, Elena, Mark had said, leaning on the counter like he was bearing the weight of our finances alone. Things are tight. I'd picked up extra freelance work, stayed late to impress my boss, clipped coupons like we were in a commercial. While I was working overtime to help with bills, I said slowly, he was funneling my money into some luxury apartment. While I've been working double shifts at the hospital, Jason added, voice going tight. Lily's been swiping our joint card for dinners and hotel rooms with your husband. She's been telling me she's tapped out while buying lingerie I never saw. The anger in his voice matched the cold thing growing in my chest. Not hot rage. It was too focused for that. This was something else. A blade being sharpened.
What are you going to do? I asked.
He exhaled, some of the exhaustion shifting into resolve. I already started. I contacted a lawyer the night I found the texts. She's one of the best family attorneys in the state. She filed the paperwork yesterday. Yesterday? I blinked. So you're already divorcing her? Oh yeah, he said. That bridge is ash, and I want you to use the same lawyer. Why? I asked. Wouldn't that be a conflict? She's checked, he said. As long as we're not fighting each other, it's fine. In fact, she likes that our cases are parallel. Says it makes a stronger narrative, pattern of behavior, premeditation, financial misuse. I stared at him. You've really thought this through. I've had 3 nights of not sleeping to do it, he said, eyes tired but clear. Listen, Elena, what I'm planning works better if we're coordinated.
What are you planning exactly? I asked.
He leaned forward, forearms on the table, voice dropping.
I want to serve them together, he said.
At their apartment. Both of us, plus both lawyers. No warning. No chance for them to get their story straight. I want them to open that door and realize in the same instant that we know everything and that we're working together, not against each other. Images flashed uninvited. Mark opening a door in some pristine high-rise, his face going slack as he saw me standing there. Lily's expression when she realized the game was over.
I don't know if I can, I started.
Stand there, Jason finished gently. Look them in the eyes. Watch them hold divorce papers with their own names on them. I nodded. He took a sip of his coffee, then set the mug down carefully. You can, he said. And you should. Not because of revenge, though I won't pretend that doesn't feel good. Because it sends a message. We're not letting them script this. We're not quietly disappearing so they can pretend we were the problem. I thought of Mark's words. I'm finally choosing myself. Like I'd been some obstacle he had to climb over to reach his happiness. What about after? I asked. What happens legally?
That's where our lawyer comes in, Jason said. She says I've got a strong case. Kids, timeline, paper trail. Judges don't like it when you use family money to fund an affair and abandon your children for a fantasy. And me? I asked quietly. You've got assets, he said. A house, savings, retirement. He doesn't get to blow up your life and walk away with half of what you built. Not if we can help it. We sat in silence for a moment, the noise of the cafe washing around us, milk steaming, someone laughing too loudly, a spoon clinking against ceramic. Why are you helping me? I asked finally. You don't even know me. Jason gave a humorless little laugh. Because your husband is ruining my daughter's lives, he said bluntly. Because your pain and my pain were caused by the same two people who think they're the main characters in some grand romance. Because the best way to hit them where it hurts is to be on the same page. He paused. And, he added more quietly, because it's easier to breathe when I talk to someone who actually understands what this feels like. That, more than the folder of evidence, cracked something in me. I nodded, blinking hard. Okay, I said, what do we do first? First, you meet with the lawyer, he said, already pulling out his phone to scroll. She'll walk you through everything. Timelines, documents, what you're entitled to. Then we pick a day. A day for, I asked, though I already knew. To pay them a visit, he said, with paperwork. He stopped scrolling and held his phone out so I could see an email. Thursday, he said, late afternoon. Lily thinks I'm on a double shift, but I swapped out. According to Mark's text to her, he pulled up another screenshot, my husband's name like a bruise on the screen. He's taking the rest of the week off to nest. Nest, I repeated, bile rising. Yeah, Jason said, in the apartment that our money paid for. So, Thursday, 4 p.m., in the parking garage of their building. Me, you, and our very expensive, very prepared lawyer. I looked at the folder again. At the lease. At the neat columns of numbers representing hours of my life I'd worked, turned into their down payment on a lie. I'll do it, I said, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. I'll meet with her. I'll use your lawyer, and I'll be there on Thursday. Jason's shoulders dropped a fraction, as if he'd been holding his breath waiting for my answer. Good, he said. They've been writing the script so far. Time to take the pen back. 2 days later, I sat in a polished office across from a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a sharper bob. Her nameplate read, Marlene Garcia, Family Law. She flipped through my file, which now included Jason's folder, my bank records, and a neatly typed summary she'd had me dictate. This is strong, she said finally. Strong how? I asked. She steepled her fingers. Adultery, on its own, doesn't carry as much legal weight in this state as people think. Judges don't hand out houses as prizes for hurt feelings, but deliberate financial misconduct does. She tapped the lease, the highlighted deposit, the dates. Signing a lease 3 weeks before he left, she said, paying for it with marital funds, including money transferred from your account under false pretenses. That paints a very clear picture of premeditated betrayal. Not a heat-of-the-moment mistake, a plan. So I have a shot? I asked. You have better than a shot, she said, especially with Jason's case running parallel. Patterns matter. This shows you're being reasonable, seeking legal recourse, not revenge. I thought of Mark calling what he did, choosing himself. Okay, I said slowly. What do you need me to do? Bring me every document you can find, she said. Emails, messages, bank statements, anything with dates, and be ready on Thursday. Thursday, I echoed. She gave a small, almost feral smile. Yes, I always enjoy serving people who think they're untouchable. When I walked out of her office into the bright afternoon, the world felt tilted, but in a new way. I was still heartbroken, still furious, still nauseous at random intervals, but underneath all of that, there was a thin, steady current of something else. Forward motion. Thursday was circled on my calendar now, not as the day my husband left, but as the day we were going to knock on his new front door. Thursday came faster than I expected. Grief stretches time, but anger compresses it into a single sharp point. I spent most of the day pacing the house like a ghost, trapped between floors, listening to the hollow echo of my footsteps in the place we once called ours. Every few minutes I'd glance at the clock. 11:42 a.m., 1:03 p.m., 2:57 p.m. By 3:30, my stomach was in knots. By 3:45, I was sitting in my car with the engine running, staring at my own reflection in the rearview mirror.
I didn't look like a woman about to confront her cheating husband and his mistress. I looked like a woman about to fall apart, but falling apart would have to wait. The parking garage under the luxury high-rise was cleaner than some hospitals I'd been in. Polished concrete, soft fluorescent lights, neat painted lines. The kind of place I would have once joked about being too fancy for us. Jason was already there, leaning against his car, arms folded. Our lawyer, Marlene, stood beside him, tapping something into her tablet. Another attorney, Jason's, was flipping through a leather-bound folder. Jason straightened when I pulled in. "Hey," he said with a nod. "You ready?" "No," I said honestly, "but let's do it anyway." Marlene stepped forward, her voice crisp. We approached together. Elena stands beside me. Jason stands by his lawyer. We don't argue. We don't react. We deliver the papers, confirm receipt, and leave. Jason added quietly, "And whatever they say, ignore it. They're going to panic." I nodded. Panic I could handle. Panic was honest. We took the elevator up to the 8th floor. Each ding felt like a countdown. Jason's jaw was clenched so tight I could see a muscle twitch. My palms were damp. The lawyers looked annoyingly calm, like this was just another Thursday. Then we arrived. Apartment 812. From behind the door, soft jazz played. Something pretentious. Something expensive. Something that made my teeth grind. Jason glanced at me. "Ready?" I swallowed. "Knock." He did. The music stopped. Footsteps approached. Something thumped. A wine glass set down too quickly, maybe. Then the door opened, and Mark stood there. His face went through an entire hurricane of emotions in the span of 2 seconds. Confusion, recognition, fear, calculation. "Elena," he said, voice small. What are you doing here?" "Brought some friends," I said. Marlene stepped forward, holding out an envelope with surgical precision. "Mr. Brooks, you are being served." He blinked like she'd slapped him. "Served what?" "The divorce papers," I said. "You remember, those legal documents you need when you cheat on your wife and move in with someone else." Behind him, Lily stepped into view. She froze when she saw Jason and his attorney. Her expression collapsed into horror. "Jason?" she whispered. "What? Why? How did you—" "Hi, Lily," Jason said flatly. "Got something for you." His lawyer handed her an envelope. "You are also being served." Lily grabbed it like it might explode. This is insane." "No," Jason said. "Insane is abandoning your husband and your children to play house with someone else. This is consequences." She flushed crimson. We can talk about this." "We won't," Jason cut in. "Ever again. All communication goes through our attorneys." Mark finally found his voice. "Elena, we can figure this out." "We already have," Marlene said smoothly. "Court dates are set. Please read the documents. Have a good evening." She turned and walked away like she'd just delivered a pizza, not detonated 2 lives. Jason's lawyer followed. I stared at Mark for a moment. He looked nothing like the man I married. Or maybe he did, and I was just seeing him clearly for the first time. "Don't call me," I said quietly. "Don't text me. Don't send emails from secret accounts. It's over." He opened his mouth, but whatever excuse he was reaching for died when I stepped back. Jason nodded to me, and together we walked toward the elevator without looking back. Just before the doors closed, I heard Lily's voice rise behind us. "What do we do now?" Then the doors slid shut. In the elevator, it was silent for a full 5 seconds. Then Jason let out a disbelieving laugh, sharp, breathless. "Oh my God, did you see their faces?" I blinked. Then I started laughing too. Not because it was funny. Nothing about this was funny, but because the shock and humiliation on their faces had been the first moment in days where I didn't feel powerless. It felt good, I admitted. "It was supposed to," Jason said. When we reached the garage, he gestured toward the building around us. They really thought they'd get to live out some grand romance in this overpriced shoebox. "Built on our money," I said. "And our lives." "Not anymore." He walked me to my car. "Drinks?" he asked casually, like we'd just finished a long shift at work instead of serving our spouses' divorce papers. "Definitely." The bar was dim, warm, quiet. Not a place for celebrations, exactly. More like a place where people nursed truths they weren't ready to say aloud. We ordered whiskey. Straight. Jason lifted his glass. "To survival," he said. I clinked mine against his. "To consequences." The first sip burned all the way down, lighting something inside me that felt dangerously close to relief. We talked. Not about Mark or Lily, at least not at first. We talked about our jobs, our childhoods, the stupid little routines we miss now that everything was falling apart. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't flirty. It wasn't anything like that. It was two people clinging to something solid in the middle of a storm. Eventually, though, the conversation drifted back. My wife's mother called me today, Jason said, rolling his glass between his hands. Told me I was ruining Lily's life. I snorted. Mark's mom said I was being vindictive, that he made a mistake and I'm overreacting by not taking him back. Jason looked at me. Do you want him back? No, I said immediately. Do you want Lily back? God, no. We sat with that certainty for a while. Eventually, he checked his watch. My girls are at my sister's tonight. I should pick them up. Of course. We walked out together. At my car, he turned to me. Today was hell, he said, but it was bearable because you were there. My throat tightened. Same. See you next week? He asked. Yeah, I said, same place. He nodded once and left. I sat in my car, fingers trembling around the steering wheel. For the first time since Mark left, the silence didn't swallow me whole. It felt like space, like air, like possibility. I didn't sleep the night before my court date. Not because I was afraid of losing. Marlene had gone over the evidence so thoroughly that even I knew we had a strong case. But because this was the end of something I'd once believed would last forever. Even after everything Mark had done, some small part of me still clung to the ghost of our marriage. But by sunrise, even that ghost felt tired. I got dressed on autopilot. Simple black dress, blazer, hair pinned back. I looked like a woman going to a job interview, not like someone preparing to legally dismantle the life she built with her husband. At 8:05 a.m., my phone buzzed. Jason, you've got this. See you after. 3 words, steadying in a way I didn't expect. The courthouse was colder than I imagined. Or maybe that was just me. Marlene met me inside, brisk and composed, tablet in hand. You ready? She asked. No, I said truthfully, but let's do it anyway. Good answer. She led me into the courtroom. Mark was already there with his lawyer, a young man who looked fresh out of law school, nervously flipping through a thin folder. Mark looked smaller. His hair wasn't styled. His suit looked wrinkled. And when his eyes met mine, he flinched. I didn't flinch back. We took our seats. The judge, a silver-haired woman with a face carved in stone, entered and began reviewing the file without a single change in expression. Finally, she spoke. The petitioner seeks divorce on grounds of adultery. Does the respondent contest this? Mark's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client acknowledges the relationship, but disputes the characterization. The judge cut him off. Simple yes or no. Did your client engage in an extramarital affair? A pause. Mark's lawyer glanced at him. Mark swallowed. Yes, he said. And did she, the judge glanced at the paperwork, move out of the marital home to cohabitate with her affair partner? Another pause. Mark's throat bobbed. Yes. And did she sign a lease on the apartment prior to the date of separation? Mark's lawyer cleared his throat. Your Honor, the timing is complicated. It is not. What is the date on the lease? He shuffled papers. 3 weeks before she moved out. And where did the deposit funds originate? My lawyer rose. Your Honor, from marital funds. Withdrawn from a joint account without the petitioner's knowledge. We have documented transfers. The judge turned her attention to Mark. Is that accurate? Mark looked at me. For a moment, I thought he might try to spin some version of the truth. But then he deflated. Yes, he said quietly. I need the answer stated clearly, the judge said. Yes, he repeated. She made a note. Very well. Let's discuss asset division. That part lasted hours. Mark's lawyer argued he deserved half the house. Marlene presented proof he'd financially abandoned the marriage long before he physically walked out. Mark insisted he didn't mean to hurt me. Marlene reminded the judge that intent did not outweigh documented behavior. At one point, Mark stood and said, Your Honor, I made a mistake. I was unhappy, but I don't deserve to lose everything. The judge looked over her glasses at him. No one is taking everything, but actions have consequences. You engaged in sustained deception, misused marital funds, and planned your departure in advance. Those choices have legal ramifications. Mark sat down hard. I did not look at him. By late afternoon, the judge delivered her ruling. Elena Brooks retains full ownership of the marital home. Savings will be divided 60-40 in her favor. The respondent is awarded his personal belongings and vehicle. No alimony will be granted. The respondent is not entitled to support due to premeditated financial misconduct and voluntary abandonment of the marital residence. Mark's lawyer snapped his head up. Your Honor. Final decision, she said. Next case. Mark made a choked sound. For a moment, the courtroom felt suspended in stillness. Then everyone began moving again. Papers stacking, chairs scraping, attorneys gathering their things. I stood slowly. Mark took a step toward me. Elena, please. His lawyer touched his arm. Don't, not here. He hesitated, tears streaking down his face. I didn't want it to be like this. I looked at him, not with anger, not with pity, with the clarity of someone finally stepping out of a fog. It is like this, I said, because you made it like this. Then I walked away. Outside, the air felt strange, lighter. I didn't know if it was relief, shock, or something in between. I pulled out my phone and called Jason. He answered on the first ring. How did it go? I got the house, I said, most of the savings, and no alimony. He let out a long, low whistle. Elena, that's incredible. How are you feeling about yours? I asked. Nervous as hell, he admitted. But after hearing that, I'm feeling better. You're going to crush it, I said, and I meant it. Meet for coffee? He asked. Yeah, same place. He was waiting for me at our usual spot. When he saw me, he stood, smiling in a way that wasn't happy, but proud. You did it, he said. We did, I corrected. We sat, ordered coffee, and slipped into the easy rhythm we'd formed, comparing notes, sharing shock, finding the strange comfort in someone who understood. You realize, Jason said, stirring his coffee, they're probably panicking right now. They should be, I said. They expected us to roll over. He nodded. My court date is next week. Do you want me to come? I asked before I even thought about it. He looked at me with something warm and grateful in his eyes. Yeah, actually, I'd like that. We didn't talk about Mark and Lily again. We didn't need to. For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. Not happiness, not yet. But peace can be enough, at least for now. Jason's court date fell on a gray Tuesday morning, the kind of sky that feels like it's holding its breath. I arrived early, sitting on a wooden bench in the hallway outside the courtroom, hands clasped so tightly my fingers ached. I wasn't family. I wasn't even a friend in the traditional sense. I was something else, a comrade, a witness, the one person in his orbit who knew the exact shape of the wound he was fighting through. Jason appeared moments later, wearing a suit that actually fit him, freshly shaven, tie a little crooked. He looked tense, but steady. You came, he said, almost surprised. I said I would, I replied. He let out a breath, nodding. Good, because I'm pretty sure I might throw up. You won't, I said, even though he absolutely might. And if you do it on Lily's lawyer. He laughed, tight, short, but real. God, I needed that. We entered the courtroom together, splitting to opposite sides, me to the back row, him to the petitioner's table next to his lawyer. Lily arrived next, wearing a pale blouse and a carefully rehearsed expression of soft devastation. Behind her came Mark, my Mark, wrinkled suit, distracted eyes, hair sticking up like he'd slept in the car. They sat together. Neither looked at me. Good. The judge, an older man with a heavy brow and the straight-backed posture of someone who had seen every kind of human mess, began reviewing the case file. His face hardened the further he read. Finally, he looked up at Lily's lawyer. You left your husband and children for another man, he said. Why? Her lawyer rose. Your Honor, my client's personal relationship choices. This is not about romance, the judge snapped. This is about financial neglect, abandonment, and misconduct. Did your client hide assets and misuse marital funds? Her lawyer faltered. Well, the judge looked directly at Lily. Yes or no? Her voice trembled. I was unhappy. That is not an answer, he said sharply. Did you sign a lease on an expensive apartment while claiming financial hardship? Did you move out without arranging appropriate support for your children? Did you stop attending their scheduled custody exchanges? Her eyes filled. I didn't think... Correct, the judge said. You did not. Jason sat utterly still, hands folded, eyes straight ahead. I could read the tension in his jaw from across the room. The judge turned to Jason's lawyer. Proceed. She did. Marlene was good. Jason's lawyer was extraordinary. She laid everything down with surgical precision. Timelines, bank statements, screenshots, leases, dates, discrepancies, patterns of deceit. The judge grew visibly more displeased with each piece of evidence. When she finished, the judge leaned back. I've seen many cases of infidelity, he said. It is tragic, but not always relevant. What is relevant is reckless behavior affecting children, financial irresponsibility, and abandonment. He looked at Lily. You walked away from your daughters. You failed to provide stability. You chose personal gratification over parental duty. The court does not reward that. Lily's lawyer attempted a last-ditch effort. Your Honor, she has been under emotional distress. And yet the children have no food receipts, no calls, no visits, and no explanations. The judge's voice hardened.
Meanwhile, she and her affair partner live in a luxury apartment well above their means. Mark looked down at his hands. Good. The judge lifted the ruling document. Custody primary to the petitioner, Mr. Hart. The respondent is granted supervised visitation until she can demonstrate sustained stability. Lily gasped. Child support, $2,000 per month, non-negotiable. Her hand flew to her mouth. Asset division, 70-30 in favor of the petitioner. The marital home shall remain with Mr. Hart. Pension division heavily weighted in his favor. Mark muttered something under his breath. Lily grabbed his arm, panic in every line of her face. The judge finished, calm, final. This court finds that the respondent's actions have materially harmed her family. Decision is final. Next case. The gavel fell. It was done. Outside the courtroom, Lily burst into tears, begging Jason to be reasonable, saying the kids needed their mother, even though she hadn't seen them once since leaving. Mark tried to intervene, but Lily snapped at him, eyes blazing with desperation. You told me it wouldn't be this bad, she yelled. You said it wouldn't matter. He flinched. I didn't know. You didn't know anything, she spat. You ruined my life. I felt Jason's presence beside me before he spoke. Quiet, firm. We both know who ruined what, he said. Lily turned toward him, sobbing. Jason, please. No, he said calmly. You made your choices. Now you live with them. She broke then, collapsed into Mark's arms, shaking. They deserved each other. Jason turned away. Let's go, he said softly. We ended up in the same coffee shop where we'd first met. It felt surreal, like a loop had closed. Jason sat down heavily, rubbing his face. His hands trembled. You did it, I said. Yeah, he breathed. I did. Silence settled between us, comfortable in a way I never expected. I kept thinking, Jason said after a moment, that somehow she'd charm her way out of it, that the judge would pity her tears. She didn't cry for her kids, I said, just for the consequences. He nodded, staring into his coffee. I was so scared. But you won, I said gently. He looked up at me then, really looked, and for the first time since I'd met him, there wasn't despair in his eyes, just relief and something like pride. Thank you, he said, for being here. Thank you for letting me. The weeks that followed were quiet, the kind of quiet that used to hurt, but now felt like recovery. Word spread eventually. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard that Mark and Lily had broken up. Something about bills piling up. Reality not matching fantasy. Blame tossed back and forth until their shiny new relationship cracked under the weight of itself. Mark moved back in with his parents. Lily, too. Two adults who had demolished two marriages now living like teenagers again. Jason and I still texted. Still met for coffee sometimes. Not as often. We didn't need the lifeline as desperately anymore, but enough to stay connected. His daughters were adjusting. He got a promotion. He started seeing someone new, someone quiet, steady, kind. Boring in the best possible way, he told me, and I was genuinely happy for him. He asked if I was dating. I told him no, I wasn't ready. And for the first time, that didn't feel like failure. It felt like choice. My house is mine now. The silence is mine. The colors on the walls are mine. The bed is mine alone. And I sleep better in it than I ever did when Mark was beside me. Some nights, it's still quiet in a way that aches, but it's an ache that feels clean, like new skin growing over a wound. I survived. I rebuilt. I reclaimed my life. Mark wanted his fresh start. He got it, just not the version he pictured. And me? I got something better. A life that's mine again. A home that finally feels like a sanctuary, and a future I can walk toward without looking over my shoulder.